This is One Leeds. Welcome back to the latest video. This video, as always, is sponsored by Shop GNO, The Job Match Group, and Match Bingo. Let's get into it. First up, the Job Match Group. Whether you're looking for your next big gig or just browsing, the Job Match Group has niche job sites made just for you. F1, retail, security, and loads more. They're about matching the right person to the right job. Make sure you check them out if you're ready to level up your career. Then we've got Shop GNO, an exciting new e-commerce site where you can grab exclusive deals and discounts. Right now, One Leeds has an affiliate link just below where you can score a 25 quid membership for free, unlocking special rates and benefits. You can even list your own shop on there with way better rates than Amazon, eBay, and Vinted. They've got some Leeds bits and some general bits now and launching soon, plus some great prizes just for signing up. This is all powered by a massive Leeds United fan looking to make waves in the online shopping world. So check them out and support your local. And don't forget our mates at Match Bingo. They're smashing it with footy fun. You can get 5 bingo cards for the price of 4 through One Leeds, and you can even deposit just a £5 at a time to join the action. It's a big chance to win whilst having a blast with your fellow Leeds United friends. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Check the links in the description, and let's get on with the video. Well, hello everybody. I hope you are doing fantastically well. My name is Conor McGilligan. I was just out, doing a little bit of fuzzball training. I was out and about doing my own thing, Friday just before the Sunday match, getting myself up to speed and all this sort of stuff, doing a bit of stretching and doing all this sort of stuff, a few runs and all that sort of good stuff when it comes to the footballing and all that, trying to mirror my old younger days as a young blush footballer, but not anymore. I'm an old man. I'm trying to get back into the circuit. And then, listen, my phone is popping off. My phone's on about 3 or 4%, and we're going to get into exactly what's been going on today in another absolutely mental Leeds United day. So today, right now, was supposed to be the preview with me and Jer Lynch talking everything Newcastle, which will be released either tonight or likely now tomorrow morning, because obviously we've got to let these videos breathe, or because the YouTube algorithm just kills them, basically. So irritatingly, this video will now kill the other video that I did this morning. But please go check it out if you haven't checked it out already. We talked about so many things, not just the obvious this morning, but good to see a lot of the regulars in the building as well. Let's have a look. We play tomorrow. Burnley just kidnapped him on the way to Thorpe Arch. 2 lives in a row, man. Yeah, and we've got another video coming as well, mate. I would prefer Hamer to Buonanotte, to be honest. Insane, Rune. Yeah, indeed. Carl says, I think Hamer will do a decent job. So let's get into it. Sujal says, afternoon, Mr. McGilligan. Second live in a day. Good news, we hope. Old man, you want to try me 63? Indeed, mate, indeed. But as Nige says, it is another day in the soap opera. So I want to get into specifically what has been going on. Okay, so Facundo Buonanotte, Leeds, the situation last night, and as I've said, everybody, I am not in the know. I don't know people in the know as well, but there's a few people within this space that I do trust, that luckily enough with the One Leeds platform we've been able to build relations with, and obviously my work previously that we've been able to build and establish relationships with, of which these people off the record will tell me certain things. Don't get a lot often, but when I do, I will try bring them to you guys, and hopefully I've got a decent hit rate with them. But when it comes to Facundo Buonanotte, what do we know that's out there right now? Well, I was sent a message this morning live on stream, which you can go check my reaction from a very trusted source, which very much, I don't think she knew I was live. But I got sent something from a very trusted source saying to me that Buonanotte effectively might be in trouble here in terms of this deal coming through. And I was thinking, right, okay. And I was looking at this on live and I was thinking, right, flipping it. And then you saw all the dots being added on Twitter and clearly other people being fed other bits. And I was thinking, oh, this isn't good. So obviously he was supposed to fly into Leeds last night from what it looks like. That didn't happen for said reason. And out of nowhere, Chelsea have done what Chelsea just seemingly do, and they appear to have picked off another youngster, and this time it is Facundo Buonanotte. Late interest, the deal with Leeds completely collapsed, which was very, very sad. Very sad. I liked Buonanotte. I think the profile of him almost fills 2 voids in terms of that central player, but also that player that can play wide right and has played wide right and centrally as effectively as each other, really, throughout last season. There was an argument that he would have been more important to this Leeds United side this season than Bilal El-Khanous as well, which is a genuine, stroke of reality. He did so well last season, Buonanotte, and was probably Leicester's star outlet. I think the conversation now, what we've all got to really have when it comes to players like Facundo Buonanotte is, there was the Leeds deal there to be done, but would he have wanted another relegation battle on his CV? Brighton clearly want to sanction that move, but the move evolved with Chelsea. Blueco, which is the organisation that owns Chelsea, and Strasbourg were apparently very important in getting the deal done. And it looks like right now, from what we understand the deal, according to Jacobs, Fabrizio, everybody is completely collapsed with Leeds United. He will be going to Chelsea. And it looked like at a stage, Leeds United might potentially be able to get him on loan from a Chelsea. I thought that might happen, but it doesn't look like that's likely now. It looks like he's going to be integrated or whatever. Will he be sent on to Strasbourg? I'm not sure. We don't know the finer details of that. So at that stage, you were kind of looking around and thinking, wow, this has happened again. Like, oh my God. And it is the stark reality of the Premier League. And once again, I find myself saying to you guys a very similar thing of, what can we do? You get to a stage where you've got a chartered flight for a young player from Brighton. That then breaks down. Obviously, there was then interest immediately from Chelsea, which apparently, they couldn't get the flight or something happened. Yeah, all right, come on, we're not stupid. Chelsea then got in, clearly hijacked the deal from last night onwards. He couldn't come to Leeds, complete whatever medical and, said negotiation that still maybe needed to happen. So then we kind of rumble into a little bit later on today, and obviously it looks like he's going there. And look, as I've said, just the overall the overall look at it right now is it's not a good look for Leeds United. It's a really poor look right now, if I'm honest with you. It's a very frustrating look, as well as, where this window has got, from Bilal El-Khanous, Habib Diarra, Noah Siddiqui, to all that, to Pajau, to Muniz, to all of it, of which it just hasn't comprised in what we've wanted. To have that X factor to keep us in the Premier League, to be guaranteed, there were points of which when we were talking about Rodrigo Muniz and Igor Pajau and maybe a few others, that Leeds United we were all having a realistic conversation about us. Maybe, I know it's daft, but us having one of the best windows a newly promoted side has ever had. And then you kind of look at it a month later and it's like you get into the back end of the window. I still think there has been some really good signings so far for Leeds United. I think there's a pragmatic way to look at this squad as well, of which it can be kept in this division, but it does need some stardust. It needs some stardust in the final third. So Facundo Buonanotte would have brought that, and it's a real disappointment that we've not been able to get him through the door. I think that would have been a really top draw signing for Leeds United, alone with him sort of rejecting a move, or Brighton rejecting that move to Dortmund, Brighton rejecting that move to Lyon. But then the obvious nature was that we were speaking about a little bit earlier on, was that Brighton wanted a domestic move. Would this have been the ideal move for Brighton? Probably not. But this is now the move that has been made. So really disappointing when it's come to Facundo. Would have loved that through the door. I think that would have been a lovely, lovely addition for Leeds United. That would have complemented the attacking line so well, and the blend would have been really nice as well. Once again, could occupy centrally. I think he could probably occupy that left as well. And definitely, and obviously occupy the right, but definitely the closest thing we've had to Pablo Hernandez. I was saying earlier on this morning that he wouldn't have been our player, of course, but would have definitely fallen in love with him for me, like Leicester fans did last season. And I think he would have tied a lot together. I liked his availability, his durability, and was available a lot last season for Leicester as a young player. Would have fit the mould as well for Leeds to go out and get something else with him being 20 years of age in terms of the registration. That doesn't appear to have happened. We're going to have to move on when it comes to that. So then we kind of got through the the day, and I have to claw back and I have to look at the scenario, of which was a really simple one. That what can Leeds do? What can we do? And I bring myself back to, and I'm fighting with myself mentally. There's a frustration where I'm punching myself, but then there's another knockback where I'm thinking reality, calmness, logistical mindset, where I'm thinking they've tried to go for these top draw players, the X Factor players. And it appears for a lot of them, Beale, brilliant. Stack, brilliant. Goodmanson could be in that bracket when it comes to the left back with his caliber in Ligue 1. And you look at these players. Could you add DCL to that in terms of apparently beating champions? Us beating Champions League clubs to his signature. Obviously, he's our number 9 now. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we're going in for players that are a level up. It's a level up, it's a bracket up. When you look at Habib Diarra, I think he's going to be a fantastic signing for Sunderland. But then we've got Stack. I think that's a really good come down. It's not even a come down for me. But then you look at Rodrigo Muniz. You're looking at Igor Paixão. You look at Facundo Buenanotte. You look at Bilal El Khanous. And you're thinking to yourself, well, you're going for these players, but what else do you do? And this isn't me giving the 49ers a buy at all. At all. Because that would be ridiculous. But throughout the window, I think if you'd have brought in a Josh Sargent, I think if you'd have brought in a Manor Solomon, I think there's an argument, and even though I was advocating for it earlier on, there's an argument if you'd have brought in Jaffa Tanganga, these would have been the more bottom draw signings, of which there would have also been a reaction from Leeds fans saying they're not good enough. They're not going to be those ceiling raisers that are going to keep us in the division. So it feels like the 49ers have been trying to go for these upper level players, but they've missed. They've missed, and that it doesn't matter when we turn around to it at the end of the season and go, oh, well, they tried, because they've missed. They've had a penalty, 3 penalties, and they've knocked in 1. And it's not complete, and it's not good enough right now, and they'll know that. So it's really difficult at this moment in time to be able to evaluate that. We will evaluate it towards the end of the window, and I think that's going to be comprised of a very passionate sort of reverb next week at some point, where we try to be, level-headed and logistical, but we also, have a look at the window. Really, really have a look at the window. Okay, so what are you on this stream for? So I've been, and if you've been a keen watcher of the channel for the past 2 weeks now, I was told about Hamer from 3 sources, that I still have in Sheffield, pretty damn good ones, and 2 of them never say anything. So I prodded a few people who I know. They said to me, Connor, it's never going to happen. So I just, put it under the carpet a little bit, and I thought, right, okay, then you'd link to Buenanotte. There's still Bilal El Khanous rumours. It was just in the back of my head, and that's why I kept slipping it into the stream. Around about 4 or 5 days ago, and there's evidence of this on the channel, definitely 3 days ago, I was told that from the source that has told said sources, which you're seeing online now, the source, that there was a loan to be had for Gustavo Hamer, a loan to be had, which was then turned into a fee towards the back end of the season. This is what I dropped on the rumour probably around 3 days ago now. Followed this up again with 2 other people who were the 3 original contacts, and they said, look, hold on, Dennis or Leeds were linked to Buenanotte, and I thought, right, okay, Buenanotte and Gus Hamer, that might still happen, but it's unlikely towards the back end of the window. There's going to have to be some serious movement. So, anyway, around about, and you guys will know this second person. So I was speaking to said person, Mr. Jimmy the Blade, and he'll be able to evidence this. I said to Jimmy, around about, when was it? I'll have a look at the messages. When did I tell him? Or when did I say it to him? I said to him, and he'll be able to... I said to him on Tuesday, heard anything on old Gussie, have you, mate? And he said, happy to stay put the begging bowl away. And I said back to him, wouldn't be so sure, mate. And he said, we'll see. So I'd heard something. Obviously, this has been something that and I kept pressing him. I was like, look, Jimmy, keep an eye on this one. And obviously, I think he's on a ferry now. I was about to get him on a live stream. I've just spoken to him. Now, he's gone out there and put out on social media something of which I think Donahue's reported it as well. And I think the person who's told Donahue is in cahoots with the person that I know. It's all very complicated. And you guys can find the evidence on the channel for this. I'm not talking rubbish. This exact deal of which Leeds are looking for was the deal that I'd spoken about on the Broom Mill for the past 2 or 3 days now. It appears to have come out, which is great, you know, for me, because it doesn't make me look like an absolute buffoon. And it still might not happen. I'm not ITK at all, as Jimmy's quite rightly said on his tweet out there. We're not ITKs, but you do, luckily, through this that we've got, and my previous work, obviously, that you're kind of establishing a few bits and bats of which you can hold on to. And I barely get anything, guys, but when I do get something, I'll tell you. So the deal is itself, from what I've been told, it is a £2 million loan deal for Gustavo Hamer. Okay, so this is something that we said originally. This is something that we said originally on the channel. It was going to be a loan deal. Then there is an obligation for 15 to 20 million quid. This has come round very, very quickly. Very, very quickly over last weekend. And let me just point you as well to the Athletic article, which was effectively right at the beginning of the window, which was, if we can't get our targets, which now Buonanotte clearly is off the table for, we will then go and look at championship pedigree, which is exactly what was outlined to us at the very beginning of the window. So this makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. Okay, Jody, any evidence of that, or are you just going to put that out there? So obligation for 15 to 20 million quid, £2 million loan fee. The details right now are just being finalised. So I've been told that this is 95% of the way done. Could be rubbish. Could be rubbish. I'm prefacing this with I'm not ITK or anything like that. But this is something that I've said on the channel. I've mentioned several times that it's a loan to a fee at the end. I mentioned it this morning before any of this had come out, and yesterday. You could check the receipts. You could check the receipts on the stream. All you guys know this if you're checking into the Room Mill every single day. So we've got to wait till the contract's signed. I agree with a lot of you in the chat. I'm just telling you what I know. So the obligation effectively means Leeds will get him next year. The details are just being finalised. Effectively, Gus Hamer was happy to stay at Sheffield United. Obviously, that doesn't mean he doesn't want the move. But Sheffield United board, who we know are brand new. It's not the old board with Prince Abdullah, who might not have sanctioned this. And definitely there was conversations last summer about a Joel Peru exchange. I don't think he was sanctioning that, and he wasn't willing to do that. And then they came out and said how important he was. Wilder said the same thing. This is a brand new ownership, and they see Gus Hamer right now at 28 as peak value. As peak value, okay? This is the most they're going to get for him. So obviously the deal will go through next season. Why does that make sense for Leeds United, it being in the final throw? It's a loan to help Leeds out with PSR, because we know we are now past that £100 million threshold, of which we are close, no matter what anybody else tells you. Leeds are definitely close to that PSR limit, and they want another attacker in. Okay, so this makes a lot of sense. So the loan is to help Leeds United out with PSR. Initially, we wanted a straight permanent, but the fee obviously would likely have been less. So that means that Leeds United can submit the fee in either tax year. Okay, so the loan massively helps Leeds United out. So I can tell you from a lot of now, I was speaking to Jimmy about this a little bit earlier, and he's not happy. He's not happy with this whatsoever. So yeah, they're not happy. I mean, I've said to him in terms of like a squad compilation, it might work out for them, because obviously that means now that they're going to be able to maybe facilitate Chong, and O'Hare might get a little bit more of a central role, but the balance of that Sheffield United side will increase. But they have just sold or are looking to sell, when it comes to their board, one of their better players. But I get it to an extent, because I always talk about stock, and Gus Hamer will likely be 29 by the time Leeds United have put that obligation in for him. Now, look, I mean, Gustavo Hamer at 26 would have been ideal, but it is what it is. We're kind of looking at that scenario right now, but this is 15 to 20 million quid of an obligation. I'm sure from a social media standpoint and a Sheffield United standpoint, they will veer on that social media side, saying it's either an undisclosed fee or a healthy fee, or close to 20 million quid. Leeds will probably play it down a bit. I'm sure there are some bonuses in there, but this is how it's looking right now, a 2 million loan fee and then an obligation for 15 to 20 million quid. The details are being finalised. The player was happy to stay, but it doesn't mean he doesn't want the move. We've always mentioned this with Gus Hamer. We've mentioned it for the past month that he lives 40 minutes down the road. He's best mates with Jayden Bogle. But the Sheffield United board, as of right now, the new board, the new consortium, want to cash in whilst he's at peak value. Okay? And apparently it's at around about, I've been given a marker that it's around about 95% done. It's in the final throws and it's come together very, very quickly. So it makes a lot of sense as well. It makes a lot of sense, obviously, because that would mean that they've moved out, they've lost on Buonanotte, and then immediately they've gone to Gustavo Hamer. So how do I look at this overall? And guys, do me a favor, slap a like on the video. Really appreciate it. We've got nearly 1,600 of you in the building right now. So how do I see this right now? I see this as a good signing. I've always mentioned this. I'm not turning around and saying that this is a bad signing whatsoever. I think Gustavo Hamer to Leeds United is exactly what we need in terms of a profile from an 8, from a number 10. I think in the Premier League, I've gone to bat for Gustavo Hamer for the past 18 months. I think it'd have been a terrific signing for Leeds in the Championship. It was always going to be harder when Sheffield United were there. I think when you look at his goal record in the Premier League, when he's got over 10 goal contributions, he's played in his last Premier League season at nigh on 36 games, I think it was. And a lot of people say, oh, fitness. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get tired by the 70, 75th minute, in my personal opinion anyway, because Leeds players get tired within the 70, 75th minute. We act as though that's not a regular thing in football. That is a regularity in football. So how do I think he fits? I think now Daniel Farke will revert back to a 4-2-3-1 because we've not won games in the 4-3-3. So for me, that plays into Gustavo Hamer's hands because then he fits into the number 10, which obviously you're kind of looking at and you're hoping he's more of an 8, 10. There's no doubt in his class. We saw that in the playoff final. There's no doubt in his class. We've seen that for Sheffield United in the Premier League. Even I was watching the highlights against Millwall and he just gets the ball off that left-hand side, cuts in and has a 35-yard smash or a 30-yard smash at goal, and it's a wonderful keeper by the wonderful save by the Millwall keeper Bender. It's an unbelievable save. We don't have any players who do that. We don't have any players who provide that X factor. Get the ball from deep, will drive at the heart of the midfield. And is he a Premier League player? Yes, he is a Premier League player all day, and I will argue with everybody about that all the time. Gustavo Hamer, from my personal perspective, is a Premier League player. So yeah, I think it's a good deal for Leeds United to get done. I think he's a profile exactly of what we're missing. There's a set piece taker there who gets it on the money 99% of the time. He's a profile we don't have. He's literally a country mile technically ahead of Brendan Aronson, and I like the way Leeds United are going with this transfer because I'm so happy. We're speaking this morning about Mavericks, and we're having a bit of a debate about that and why Ramazani's left the club. Now, this is irritating me in a sense as well because I think Gustavo Hamer, imagine the threaded balls through to someone like Alaji Ramazani, splitting the centre back and the right back. Imagine that. Imagine the telepathy those two would have. You know, the synergy those two would have. That's what annoys me, but hopefully he can build that up with Noah Okafor. But for me, it makes a lot of sense because I think he can, he's he's really good in terms of tight situations, winning free kicks, which I've always mentioned. This is really important for Leeds United to be able to win free kicks. Those people who don't think Gustavo Hamer is at least agile or has like a really good acceleration status, go watch his little burst against Sunderland in the playoff final, of which somehow he gets to a ball in front of about 3 or 4 different Sunderland players and outpaces them. He does have that level to his game. His fitness is definitely a conversation. His discipline is definitely a conversation. That needs to be quashed in the Premier League with VAR there, definitely. So I'm not saying this is the perfect signing. But you've got to look at what state Leeds are at right now. If you want to go into the Premier League as a 4-2-3-1, which this manager will now go to a 4-2-3-1, in my opinion, because the 4-3-3 has not worked. If you want to go into a 4-2-3-1 with, in the meantime, like a Longstaff in the 8 or 10, or an Aronson in the 8 or 10, and think we're going to stay up, it's mental. And what we're trying to do is upgrade now. You've upgraded from Perry to Mele. You've upgraded from Biel to whoever, maybe Strauch. You've upgraded from Goodmanson, in my opinion, to Firpo. You've upgraded from Stack to Rothwell. Even though they're kind of different players, you kind of lack that player who drives in. And that's another point of which we kind of replicate what Rothwell brought to the side last season in terms of that drive through the midfield, which we've completely lost and we don't have. We don't have that profile of player who drives through the midfield, that Rothwell-esque player anymore. So that is what Hamer brings. Very similar in terms of carrying the ball, Hamer and Rothwell. So you've upgraded in all of these positions. There's still a hell of a lot more to do. I don't think Okafor's an upgrade, in my opinion, anyway, to Ramazani and Solomon as a combined, because that's kind of what we've done. We've just replaced that. I don't look at DCL and Mecha right yet as a significant upgrade to Premier League level, but I think the Niners have done an okay job so far. But they need to do more. They need to do more. Of course they do. They need to do more, and I'm not turning I'm not turning this into a thing of which, you know, I'm glazing the 49ers because of a Gus Hamer sign. I'm not doing that. I think Gus Hamer is a profile of which Leeds United simply don't have right now. I think he's a bit of X factor of which we simply don't have right now. I don't understand certain members of the fan base turning their nose up to Gustavo Hamer when we've got the likes of Jack Harrison, Brendan Aronson, and to a certain extent at Premier League level, Dan James there. You know, Gustavo Hamer has proven more than all of them at Premier League level. You know, I guess there's a conversation a little bit more about Dan James under that Ole Solskjaer system, I guess, in that transition, which I'll give DJ a little bit of kudos to. But in his final season, obviously, and his final Premier League seasons with obviously Fulham and Leeds, it didn't work out. I know there's a lot of conversation about DJ now. I still think he'll be okay. But Gustavo Hamer, in an absolute turgid Sheffield United side who conceded 104 goals that year with Jayden Bogle, got 10 goal contributions and was unlucky not to get more and was their absolute main man. So there is evidence there. This is what I mean. There's evidence there for Gustavo Hamer. There just can't be this constant backup of he's fat. It's like, right, okay. He's fat, right? So yeah, anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I like Gus Hamer. I think it's a really good signing. Is it enough? Is it enough? Stevie says, Connie, you've been hit the drum on Hamer. Hope it works out. We need better. However, Farke says, Farke can't say he has no option at a 10. Yeah, I think Farke will go back to a 4-2-3-1. It is his tried and tested method. I think he will revert away from the 4-3-3. I think that's what he was talking about in his press conference. He was saying that effectively he might try something else out. I think it will simply be a 4-2-3-1 because of the profiles that we've got right now. Stylistically, there won't be any change in my opinion. We're still going to try play out from the back, which is the major problem against some of these top teams, or 17 top teams, excuse me. But yeah, stylistically, I think Farke needs to change that. That's the adaptable bit and the pragmatic bit. It's not building out from the back against the press-heavy Newcastle side. Just don't do that. But I think what he was talking about in terms of him changing a little bit, and there might be a change, was him going from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1, because that's not been working. Both systems do fit Gustavo Hamer, you know? Even if you wanted to drop, let's say, Anton Stack into a single 6 role, which he's played at Hoffenheim of the German national side, and then you can put like Gus Hamer and Tanaka as the 2-8s. We know Tanaka likes to drop deep anyway, so you're almost playing in a little bit of a line. You've got a 6, a 7, and an 8. But you could also work in varying ways as well. You could have 2 6s and 1 8, or 2 8s and 1 6. That's how you could work. Or you could just have a flat midfield 3, and then you could just put Hamer at the tip of that. So what do I think in terms of this being is it enough? No. No. And that is maybe something that maybe you lot didn't think that I would say. There is still something missing up top. Something missing up top. So this Gus Hamer deal, I if it does go through, and it looks like I've been told that is the quote, it's 95% of the way there. If that does go through, amazing. Is it enough? No. But I think what Leeds United have done by getting through the loan and having it either side of the tax year, I think by facilitating that and having an obligation next year is effectively, it's very similar to the Buonanotte deal. We would have wanted an obligation for that, but we couldn't get it from Brighton. But the Hamer deal means that we have that wiggle room with PSR to go get another body. So if they get Hamer, they know it's not enough. They know it can't be enough. But at least if you get someone like him, he's a completely different profile to what we've got. And I am really, really happy with that as a signing. Really happy with that as a signing. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of him, massive fan of him. I think he'll absolutely fit in mentality-wise with our lot. The fans are going to love him if he does come to Leeds United. And the reaction from the opposition fan is always one of the better metrics, and they are not happy. They are not happy. Now, there's a bigger conversation with the Sheffield United board on that, of course, but Leeds are getting for a $2 million loan obligation. And the worst case scenario, guys, we go down with Gus Hamer. Player of the season last season. He's ripped up the Championship for years, as well as having a really good campaign at the Premier League. It's a win-win for Leeds United. And look, you get a Gustavo Hamer for 3 or 4 years, maybe leading up to him being 31, 32. I think you get a good Gustavo Hamer. So, yeah, they are the details of which I've been told. Let's just get it up again. 2 million loan fee, obligation for 15, 20 million. Details been finalised. Player was happy to stay, but doesn't mean he wants to move. But Sheffield United's board want to cash in when he's at peak value. Final throws, 95% certain. It's come together really quickly. It is a loan to help Leeds United out with PSR. Then we can submit it in either tax year. Would have done a straight permanent, but fee would likely have been less from Leeds. So there you go. Scott says, good to see some SUFC fans in here. You're getting a bargain for Hamer. It's not 15, 20 mil, mate. It's probably closer to 10 million. Yeah, as I say, it's just the details I've been told, mate. It could be wrong. But no, Jimmy is currently on a ferry, mate, although I would have him on. We're getting him on next week anyway, 100%, of course. Any links or just chat? Mate, Lee, a lot of it, mate, believe it or not, is the chat, and then the links happen. Like has just happened. You can check Joe Donohue's tweet out not long ago, who it's a very similar source, I'll put it that way. Joe Donohue tweeted at around about 1 p.m. today, who I know you're all trust, so I'm telling you this. He tweeted out what I said and what I've been saying for the past 2 or 3 days. A loan to an obligation of 15, 20 million quid, and he's available. Second Tier Podcast tweeted it out as well, saying, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then out of nowhere, Leeds are then in for him. So there you go. Does him being fat concern you? Not at all. And it's I don't get why this is just a constant thing with Leeds fans. It's very, very odd. Kirsch says, do you think we do a forward winger in Hamer? No. I think sorry, Lee. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think, and Scott, you'll be able to tell us a little bit more in the chat. You can be the Jimmy, replacement here. Do you still think we do a forward, winger, and Hamer? No, I don't, mate. I think we do Hamer, and I think I mentioned I thought we'd have done Hamer. I did say on the Monday stream that I think we'll do Hamer, but I think you've got to do Hamer. They've got to do another attacking body. They've got to do, or they've failed. They've failed. They have failed, and that is that because, you know, a lot of you might think I try to be as balanced as possible. I try to be as balanced as I can. They've got to get another attacker in. They have to. You can't replace Okafor, a not physically ready player to come into the division in terms of just minutes played and the injury record. You can't replace Okafor with Ramazani. Not really invest in that sort of Solomon replacement, which we haven't yet in terms of quality. Leave James on that right-hand side, who is going to find it difficult, Daniel James, because it's Premier League Dan James, and we all know there's a like Firpo would have had to do. James is going to have to prove a point because he struggled with us in the Premier League. And then Aronson in the 10 if we fall back to a 4-2-3-1. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Or Peru in the 10, who can't play in the number 10 and effectively can't play in the 9 either in the Premier League. So Gus Hamer sorts a problem, it sorts a profile. Of course it does. But you've got to go out and do something else. You've got to go out and get something else. And I agree with a lot of you who are going to say, you know, they're on the other side of the coin and saying, Connor, it's not good enough. Connor, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I personally think the Gustavo Hamer signing is a really decent signing. I think the profile fits. We don't have a profile like Gustavo Hamer. We haven't had a profile like him for years. Hence why we've been after him since he was at Coventry, last year at Sheffield United, and now. So he's been a long-term target for Leeds United. But, you know, if they don't go out, and do another attacker, I think he brings a little bit more in terms of attacking impetus. And what Hamer can do is he can elevate certain players. You know, if he's, let's say, if he's threading Okafor in, if he's threading Okafor on goal, if he's aiding to our set pieces, if he's getting 10 goal contributions, he's going to massively aid Mecha. He's going to massively aid Dominic Calvert-Lewin with delivery. Of course he is. These are what Gustavo Hamer's brilliant at. Carving out opportunity. Look at his chance creation. It's ridiculous. Even in the Premier League, his chance creation was very, very good. So all of this stuff around him being fat and all this sort of stuff, it's just so redundant and it's so basic, in my opinion, in terms of analysis of him. Every time I watch Gustavo Hamer, which I have done a hell of a lot over the past 3 or 4 years, he changes games. He changes games, and even at Premier League level. So he sees passes other people don't. If we're playing in a 4-2-3-1 system and you've got the option of Peru, Aronson, and Hamer, who's the upgrade? Aronson cannot find a forward pass. Aronson isn't a Premier League footballer. Joel Peru, there's a conversation there, but is he a Premier League starter as a 10 or a 9? I don't think so. So it's Gus Hamer. So it's an upgrade on what we've got. So you've got to look at that. Okay? Hamer and Buonanotte would have been unbelievable. That would have been unbelievable. That would have been amazing. And then getting like a Demirovic in. Demirovic is going to be hard because Stuttgart have one recognised centre forward now, with Walter Mad going to Newcastle. So that's the problem. And Florian Plettenberg mentioned several times that he will only consider a top club coming in for him. So, okay, check Danny Hall tweet. I'll have a look, mate. Let's have a quick look. Danny Hall's pretty much nailed on normally when it comes to Sheffield United, so we'll have a look. Danny, normally, he might... If Danny Hall kiboshes this, has been a completely pointless stream. Let's have a quick look. Another breathless day of the Sheffield United transfer window. Here's the latest situation as we understand it. Includes Hamer, LFC, blah, blah, blah. Insert the caveats here. Is the current state. What's he mentioned, mate? Is there anything that you can just... Let's have a look. The fear of losing Gustavo Hamer has been in the back of Sheffield United supporters' minds for a while, blah, blah, blah. Leeds are confirmed admirers of Hamer having a cheeky bid last summer. A deal was close to being completed last summer. State of play. Noises coming out of Bramall Lane as seen as the Blades are having players coming in supplementary to Hamer rather than direct replacements. Chong arriving earlier on today. Let's have a look. Chong, who arrived earlier on today, arriving from Luton, and he could be joined by at Bramall Lane by Chelsea Alex Matos, the midfielder who spent time on loan at Oxford, blah, 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 is out of contract next summer, and United could look to exploit whatever. Yeah. What's he saying about Hamer here? Okay. He's not really saying anything, mate. This is the thing, there's not really anything being said there. Sheffield United see replacements or players coming in as supplementary to him. Okay. That's great. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But we'll have to wait and see on the Gustavo Hamer thing, everybody. We'll have to wait and see on it. I tagged you on Twitter. Let's have a look. I reckon we'll get Mrs. Brown's boys. Board are happy with Lewin as the main striker. Yeah, indeed, mate. Indeed. So we will have to wait and see, everybody. That is the news. Yeah. What's he said above? He's saying that a deal with Leeds isn't close. We'll have to wait and see, mate. We'll have to wait and see over the weekend. As I've said, pretty damn good sources, but Danny Hall is obviously the main Sheffield United man, so we'll have to wait and see, but keep an eye on this one, everybody. Let's keep an eye on this one. It's an absolute pleasure, everybody. Like before you leave, and I